Jamie, Jamie, Jamie. You awful, awful person. You son of a bitch. How dare you try to do things for yourself after having an abusive childhood and being treated like absolute garbage, even when you do help with the ranch. How dare you, Jamie? You bastard. Jamie Dutton, if you aren't aware of who he is a character on the show Yellowstone. He's played by Wes Bentley. You know, the guy from Hunger Games. Jamie is hated by the Yellowstone fan base, and I don't think they even know why. Now, yeah, sure, he lied to Beth and didn't give her the full details about getting an abortion. Okay, if that's why you hate and absolutely despise Jamie, then okay, fair enough. But even that, I feel, is not entirely his fault. Jamie Dutton gets a lot of flack for doing things for himself and not doing things in the sport of the ranch. Every family member hates Jamie except Casey, the only one who loves him unconditionally. Jamie has done some questionable things, but I don't think they are all his fault. Jamie was born as James Michael Randall to Garrett and Phyllis Randall. After Garrett Randall murdered Phyllis Randall in an attempt to save Jamie, Garrett was sent to prison. When that happened, Jamie was only 3 months old. Jamie was then adopted by John and Evelyn Dutton. He would have 3 other siblings, 2 brothers, Lee and Casey Dutton, and a sister, Beth Dutton. On March 30th, 1997, his adoptive mother would tragically pass away due to falling off a horse. Now, we're going to skip ahead a little bit in the future, where the events of the show take place. Jamie is now a lawyer after his adoptive father, John Dutton, sent him to Harvard to become one. So right there, we have our first piece of evidence that Jamie was sent away because of John's own selfish desires. John didn't send Jamie to law school because he wanted to make him happy. He sent Jamie to Harvard because he needed Jamie to be his sword. John actually says this to Jamie. Not even kidding. So just imagine for a second that your father figure tells you he needs you to be his sword and secret weapon against the progressive nature of the world. But John doesn't say this as words of encouragement. He literally means what he's saying. No wonder this backfired on him. One thing that gets brought a lot within this show is that Jamie is too scared of his dad. And that's the reason no one likes him. And what I have to say to that is, do you blame him? We know that John is abusive. Hell, he abuses Jamie as an adult. We also know that John branded Casey against his will. If that isn't supposed to strike fear into the hearts of people that wrong him, I don't know what does. Another instance is when John tells Jamie to run for Attorney General. Jamie does. Then John tells him not to run. Jamie was very excited to run for Attorney General. I feel like it gave him something to actually work toward and put his law school practice to use. But John tells him to not run for Attorney General without even explaining to him as to why, and then proceeds to beat him the f*** up when he refuses. So what I can infer, if John physically, mentally, and emotionally is willing to abuse his son as an adult, then I'm also willing to bet that he was willing to abuse him when he was a kid. Now on to another point that I see a lot. Jamie chose his biological dad over his adoptive dad. Now when I first heard this, I was like, Jamie, you idiot! But now that I think about it, we all would have if we were in Jamie's position. Having a dad like John Dutton when he was obviously abusive and manipulative towards Jamie, not only during his childhood, but also during his adulthood. Then, when Jamie does meet his biological dad, he welcomes him with open arms and loves him unconditionally. You guys are mad that he chooses him over the latter. It blows my mind that this is the reason people hate Jamie. Okay, now for what most people say they hate Jamie for. The Beth abortion reason. In Season 3, Episode 5, Cowboys and Dreamers, the episode opens with a flashback. 15-year-old Beth finds out she's pregnant. With no one else to turn to, she looks to Jamie for help. Jamie agrees, and in order to be discreet about it, he takes her to Indian Health Services. The only way the Reservation Health Center handled abortions was by sterilizing the women in the process, meaning that Beth could never get pregnant again. Jamie tells Beth that it's okay to get the abortion without informing Beth fully. Now, I do believe that Jamie is at fault for lying to Beth. It was Jamie's fault for even trying to help Beth in the first place. But who's truly to blame? It's none other than John Dutton. Just look at this logically. Beth didn't go to her father first. No, she went to Jamie. Why didn't she go to John first? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's because John doesn't have a problem with branding his children who disappoint him. Even in a later episode, John apologizes to Beth for not being the parent she needed. Jamie is exactly the person John raised Jamie to be. It was John's fault for being abusive to his kids. It was John's fault for treating Jamie how he did. Now I know John does love Jamie, and even maybe unconditionally. We see John talk Jamie out of committing suicide. We even see near the end of season 4, John gets choked up about finding out that Beth may have killed Jamie, saying, "Did I lose a son today?" So obviously he loves him, in an abusive way, but hey, that's something. Jamie, in my eyes, is not at fault for most of what he's being hated for. Jamie is a product of severe childhood trauma, and probably has complex PTSD. I think Jamie is an interesting character. The reason he does what he does isn't always black and white. I find him pretty complex, and he leaves me thinking a lot. I think that's the appeal of his character. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a good time writing it. Leave a like if you liked it. Comment what you think of Jamie. And not only do I thank you for watching the video, but I thank you so much for 15 subscribers. It means so much to me. And without further ado, peace out, nerds!